Well, hello, staff and faculty. This is an Outlook training that I want to provide to you that will kind of go over some of the basics of how to kind of navigate Microsoft Outlook and some of the other features that you can use, like voting buttons to make some of, say, committee work be a little more streamlined as we kind of enter into this new world that we have right now. I'll also kind of do some conversation about, the importance of using the calendar tool, doing meeting requests, and some other fun things that you can do with the Microsoft Calendar to make your life easier. I'll talk about how to set up rules so you can kind of funnel email in an effective way, and also the importance and why you should be using signatures. All right. So, many of you are familiar with Microsoft Outlook. Many of you already know that here at the Home tab, you have the ability to, start a new email, you can search your emails, you can create meetings, and so on and so forth. But I still want to just go through and make sure that I just remind you of some of the basic features. So you have the option here to click in this search box and search for an email based on from, subject, whether it has attachments. You can search subfolders, you can search your current mailbox, etc. So you have that option to really do a interesting dynamic search that you all need to find these types of items. The next thing that I want to kind of highlight to you is just a reminder that when you have a new email, and say that you want to attach things, you can obviously go to, wrong button. You can go to the attach file, you can do attach an Outlook item, so like an old email, say you want to pass an email change along, you can do that, or you can drag and drop from, say, your documents folder there. And so when you put a file in there, so for example, let's just put that there, it'll show up here as a file in the attached section. Other things that we can do while we're in an email is if you go to the Options tab, you can set up voting buttons. And these voting buttons are really helpful, especially if we're thinking about, committee work, whether it's, faculty senate, staff senate, so on and so forth. You have the ability to choose, yes or no, yes, no, maybe. You can do custom. Or, for example, if you have meeting minutes that you want to get approved, you can do approved or reject. And then you can set it up to where you can request the delivery receipt, that you get a notification that it was delivered to person A, B, and C, and then also you can get a read receipt as well. So that's a really nice feature that helps you kind of set up what is going on. And once you set up a voting button, it'll appear here that you have set that up. In addition to kind of thinking about emails is, say you have an email that has been sent to many different people. If you just want to confirm something with that individual and it's sent to a whole group, or that, say, CNCC staff and faculty distribution list, and you just want to reply to the person that originally sent the email, click Just Reply. If you click Reply All, remember that everybody is going to see that. And we all get so many emails throughout the day. Just think about how we can streamline our communication. That way we can highlight important replies, forwards, etc. Just think about keeping our mailbox free of a lot of information that we all struggle to get through on a regular basis. All right, other things. Let's talk about creating folders in D2L. So for example, we've got all kinds of information available in our emails. And we tend to get things in a pretty messy, full inbox. And so the best thing that I would suggest is to create a folder for specific items. And so there's a couple different ways that you can go about doing this. You can obviously go to the top here and create the ability of making new folders, or what I often do is I just right click on my name, create new folder, and then that pops it up right here, and I'm just going to call this Office Training, and now that folder is associated with my Outlook inbox. And the nice thing about creating that folder is you can set up rules that can funnel emails to that, and I'll talk about that in just a second. One other thing that I want to highlight, if you have a particular email and somebody says, hey, let's talk about this a little bit more, or hey, I want to set up a meeting with you so we can talk about this. If you open up that email, you can click on meeting right here under the message tab, and it now associates that email with an Outlook appointment. And you can go through that process of, emailing that person. Always check scheduling assistant, right? That's the best way that we can see when people are available. But that means that we have set up our Outlook calendars, especially faculty. Make sure that you are putting in the classes and your office hours at the bare minimum. So that way your dean, if they need to meet with you, or say Keith, or anybody else that wants to meet with you, can see when you are available and schedule that appointment. But again, you can do this based on a specific email. You can also just do what we are familiar with by going down here to the calendar tab and switch to the calendar and click on new appointment. Type in whatever that appointment may be. Put your location, whatever that may be. And then you can add attendees right here. So let's just put in Keith, etc. And always remember to click on the scheduling assistant. So that way it will show you when somebody is available and when they are not available. So in this case, it looks like I have free time. This case, Todd has free time. And notice here, this dark blue means that Keith is not available. He is busy. Or here's the other things that are there. So that is a very useful thing for you to do. All right, so you've made that appointment, and there's other things that you can do. You can obviously make attachments. You can set that up as a WebEx meeting if you have the WebEx feature set up in your Microsoft Outlook. And one thing that I like to do is I like to categorize my meetings. So if I'm in the meeting section, I can click on these categories and attach them in such a way that I know that this is related to, say, a meeting, or this is related to something else, or it's an SFAC meeting, PTK, student appointment, etc. And that creates more of an organized world that I like to have in my Outlook calendar. Other things that you can do, you can obviously show it as, busy when you want your reminder. You can also set your reoccurrence. So if it's an appointment that you're going to have over and over, this is really easy to do. So like if you're getting ready to put your classes and your office hours in, you set your start and end time. You set whether you want them to recur weekly, and then you can have them set up for specific days that they show up. And then you can set that they will end after a specific occurrence or at a specific time. So let me show you just how this looks. So let's go here in my calendar a little bit, and you can see what I've been talking about, creating those categories. So red is class, I blocked out my lunch period, here's office hours, here is a meeting, and so on and so forth. So I've really kind of indicated for myself very visually when things are available. But if we open up one of these appointments, let's just open up the series here, you can see how the recurrence is set up. So this class runs from this time to this time. I want it to recur weekly, every Monday and Wednesday, and it ends at the last date of the class. And so this now populates my entire calendar. So it's a really nice way for faculty especially to set up our Outlook calendar with our classes and our office hours at the bare minimum. All right. So other things that we should focus on. All right. So what do you do if somebody sends you a meeting request and you go to your email and you open that up and you notice that this particular example that Jake has sent me, it occurs during a particular class time. And even though he, may or may not have checked the scheduling assistant, he still wants to meet at that time. But of course, it's in between two classes for me, so I want to find a way to make this meeting work without just outwardly saying, nope, not going to be available. I want to, in fact, just propose a new time. So I can either say, hey, yeah, I want to do this meeting, but let's find a new time, or decline and let's find a new time. Either one works, but really what I'm after is making sure that you know that you can propose a new time. So you click on it, and then what it'll do is it'll bring up that scheduling assistant that I keep emphasizing its importance for everyone to use, so that way we're kind of streamlining how our Outlook calendars work. So if we look here, you can see now on my calendar, it tells me that I'm available or not available during these times, right? That dark blue, that these are busy. And you see up here in Jake's area, there's nothing at 12 to 2 to 3. Looks like Jake has some available time there. But I've got office hours right there, and I've got it marked as tentative. But that's okay. You know, that doesn't work. But how about we just slide it over to 4 o'clock? And you notice that works because now Jake and I are available. So what I'll do is I'll submit this and just say, hey, sorry, I cannot meet during your requested time, but how about this? And that's just a really nice way to say, hey, heads up, this doesn't work, but can we try this? Other things that you can do is just, you know, hey, this is, I want to get back to you, I want to reschedule this, so mark this as high importance and just click send. All right. So cool. I've shown you a lot about making appointments. I've shown you how to attach an email to a meeting. I've shown you scheduling assistant, categorization, so on and so forth. Some other things that would probably be important for you to understand is, say you are in a hurry to kind of organize your emails, or there's an email that you want to follow up. So for example, let's just right click on an email. And you notice, right, you can categorize things, but there's this follow-up option. It allows you to flag it and say it's going to pop up letting you know I need to get back to this. You can add a custom reminder and so on and so forth. So if it's a way to kind of help kind of organize our chaotic inboxes and make sure that we are able to get things done that when we need to get things done. Also, things that we can do with our email is we can obviously move them to wherever we want. So we can pick a current folder that we've recently used. We can choose another folder, or simply just drag and drop it to that folder. Other things that we can do is we can set up a rule. So what the nice thing about Outlook is you can set rules to kind of funnel emails to specific boxes when you need them to. So it just kind of highlights, at least in my opinion, things that are of importance. If you look over here on my left-hand side, you notice that I have beneath my inbox, I have these folders. I have at-risk students, like so academic concern. So as an advisor, I can look at that. I have things for like concussion or other kind of athletic related accommodations. I have help desk tickets, payroll, these types of things. So these are folders that I've set up that have a rule. So what I can do is I have this particular email, and say I want to, you know, always move messages from Kristen, or I always want to move messages that are sent to Jake to a specific folder, or better yet, just create a rule. Okay, and so what it'll do is it'll prompt you this opportunity to make these new rules when you need to. All right, so we're going to make a rule that anything that comes from Kristen gets moved. And so we're going to say that this needs to show up. In my case, I want to put this in a D12 folder and just hit OK. So anytime Kristen sends me an email, it's going to populate into that folder. Another thing that you can do is if you go up here to File, you can set up Manage Rules, and you have the ability to see the rules that you already have, or you can create a new rule. All right, so now that we've kind of talked about moving, categorization, follow-up, and so on and so forth, one of the other important things to do is look at how we can funnel our emails into specific folders to kind of highlight them as, you know, important emails that we should kind of focus on. So I use rules for that purpose specifically. See, if you look over here on the left, I have folders for kind of at-risk students. So like as an advisor, I can, see that those emails are there because that'll get bold and have the little blue number. I have ones for concussions or other kind of health-related accommodations. I have help desk tickets, all kinds of different things that get funneled there so that I know that these are important. I should focus on them. And it's just also helped culls all of our emails that we get often, every day, as we all know. Well, you can, if you have one particular email, you can always move a message from Nick Cocozella to a specific folder, or you can create a rule from an email. But probably the best way to do this is to go up to the File menu, go down here to Manage Alerts and Rules. And you notice I have a ton of rules already created, but you can go through this process of creating a new rule. So click New Rule. And then, like you said, you can move from someone to a specific folder. You can base it on words in a subject, from a public group, from someone for a follow-up. You can set up an automatic follow-up. And you can do various different things. So typically what I do is a someone or a subject. So you go to create this and hit New. And then you want it to focus on these particular features. The person, the group, or specific words. Typically it's people or group. And then you can go through this process and set up these rules. And what you end up with are rules like this. So what we can do is take a look at this one. And this is a rule that's set up that it identifies a specific set of words that appear in the subject or body of the email, and it's going to be looking for was evaluated at risk, and it gets moved to a specific folder that I've identified as at risk. All right, so let's kind of look at how this all works. So if you have a number of rules, you can change them and so on and so forth. You can copy rules, move rules, and so on and so forth. Well, let's say we go back to our inbox, and just as an example, we have this email from Jake. And I want to set it up to do something specific that I want to make sure gets highlighted in a certain way. So in this, I don't want that because every email Jake's going to send is get funneled that way. But let's go create a rule, and let's go create rule. And in this case, I want it to focus on this particular wording that he's provided, okay? And then I want it to show up in a specific folder. So I click folder, and I can select a folder. And in this case, remember we already created that office folder, or you can create a new one. So I'm going to click that and hit New, and hit OK. And it has been created, and you always want to click Run, so now it'll move all of those messages to that area. And it's going to take a second to go through this process of moving things. And you'll notice that email has disappeared, and it's now in this folder. What I do, again, is I drag up to my favorites, so now I can kind of see that that item is there. All right, so that's rules. You can, of course, reach out to Jake or Fred or Paul for more information about how to do this. And again, remember that on the S Drive, under the employee training, there are all of these handouts for everything that I've talked about thus far. All right, so we've talked about a lot of information. The next thing I want to look at is how to set your automatic replies, or out of office is what they're used to be known. And you can set them up in such a way that is sending during a particular time frame, that it is going to emails within our organization, meaning CCCS emails, and you put your message in and you hit it and set it up. You can set it for outside the organization. So if you have, vendors or textbook publishers, those types of things, you can set that up as well. It's a good habit to do, especially if you're going on leave or you're heading into, winter break or summer break, to set these things up as a good way to remind those within, our staff and faculty that you're unavailable, but you'll get back to them, or students, and so on and so forth. So that's how to set up an automatic reply. Pretty simple. Other things that I want to highlight is how to change your signature. So you can go to Account Settings and focus on updating certain things within your particular account. And so to create a signature, right, go into Options. And you see here in Options, there's all kinds of stuff here for us to look at. More importantly, probably for you, in this particular case with regards to creating a signature, is click on Mail, click on Create and Modify, and this is where you create your new signature. I'm just going to call this Office Training, just as an example. You can put your text in there. So for example, let me go into and phone number. That's there. All right. And you need to say that you want it to appear for in your email. Every time you get a new message, you want that, and hit OK. You can also do what I recommend, creating a short signature. So if you're just replying to somebody and it's not super formal, but just, hey, yeah, sure, that sounds great, whatever you want to do in the next meeting, those types of emails, create a short signature where I usually just, okay, put my initials. And that goes to replies and forwards. I want short, hit OK. So now you've created these signatures. It gives you a level of professionalism, especially when you're talking to, say, students or outside vendors, that they know who you are, your responsibilities, your title, but more importantly, contact information. Obviously, they have your email address, but they may not have your direct line. So be able to do those types of things. And even when you are replying to somebody, so say I'm going to reply to this email, you can go up to your signature section and choose the particular one that you want. So if I want the full one, I can switch it, or if I want a short one, I can switch it. So that helps you, provide that level of professionalism in various different capacities within your Outlook. Again, I know that was a lot of information, and I apologize that I went through it quick, but there are handouts for how to do these various different things within Outlook in the S Drive folder that's called Employee Training. And as always, if you have questions, you can talk to Jake, Fred, or Paul, but put a help desk ticket in, and they will get back to you as soon as they can to address your concerns about Outlook.